Hey guys, so we're going to put a CV joint and a bearing in my 2003 Explorer here. My CV joint's leaking a lot of grease. My bearing sounds like it's grinding a little bit. So we're gonna basically do this here. Now I'm just gonna show you. I've already got it out. I've got another Explorer that I'm using for parts. That's the way to go. So I've got the bearing out of there that I'm going to use, and I've driven on this one. This was my other Explorer. So here's what our bearing looks like. There's 3 bolts that hold it on. Here's our CV joint with the nut here. And I'm using a 30 millimeter here, I believe it is. Yep, for the nut. Okay. So the only real tools I need are, don't need that. I've got the sway bar link off. I'm going to add that on mine. We just need 5/8 right there. 15 millimeter. That. You can see the screwdriver. That. I'm using a bar. And I'm using some air tools here, and I'm using a reasonable size 30 gallon. So that's basically the tools that we need right there. Not too much, and a torch, of course, and some oil. So we're going to make this become that. So this is what it's going to look like when it's all done. This is my other Explorer that I'm using for parts here. But we're going to end up having to take this down here, the top linkage. We're going to get our steering knuckle here loose. Our bearing's going to be there. That's the stabilizer link I took out. And this is actually going to turn out to be just fine. This can be pretty easy. So we're going to, I just wanted to kind of show you how it's going to look once it's all stripped out, all the parts here. We got our brake caliper down there. Now, don't be stupid. I'm using a jack, hydraulic. I've got a jack stand, tire blocked. And if you haven't done these before, it's pretty simple. This is just a simple plastic cover here. And that, see, that just pries forward. Just get your lug nuts. Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to get rid of this anti-lock brake hose here. You see this, how it runs all the way up into the truck here? Okay. And then I put a toolbox here because eventually I'm going to take this brake caliper off and I'm going to set it on that to take pressure off that rusty line. So let's go around to the top here. And you can see right here, kind of here's the battery. And just look right there. And you can see, pointed out here, that's the plug for the anti-lock brake. So all you really have to do is get in there with the screwdriver. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but it comes out pretty easy. Just hold on. So you see it's a plug. And all I did was I used the screwdriver in the top part there, and I stuck it in to the part right up there, and just jammed it in and pried it a little bit, and the plug came right out. Okay, so now once you get that, it's easy, because then all you have to do here is follow them down. So these just pop out of the little clips. See that? They just keep popping out. There's a little metal one right there. And these just pop out. See that? And that will get, I've got one more up here I have to do. And then that's going to get the hose here. Okay, the next thing we got to do is get this off. Now this will be pretty easy. I'm going to put a 14 on here. And I've got air tools, so it's going to go pretty quick. Okay, that's bolt number 1. Bolt number 2. Okay, now and tap this off. Bring down a little bit here. Okay, so just continuing this here. It's hard to hold the camera and do this. Down. I see I got this. And remember I told you that's why I have the toolbox there. Takes stress off. By the way, remember this guy? That's the analog brake. There was just one other little plastic holder up there. Okay. Now next thing we got to get this metal bracket off and 2 bolts back here. 1, 2. Now I've got air. Do it with air, it's going to be quick. Okay. So here's our brakes. 2 bolts. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, now we got our rudder off. We're getting to the guys. See, mine's leaking grease like crazy, so I'm gonna replace it. Okay, now I'm using air. By the way, this here, do not try to get that with a wrench. Remember, do the wire. Unplug, let that stay plugged in. Okay. Now, we're gonna loosen the CV bolt. There we go. Now you can see this should be loose. Already moving. Squirt a little bit of oil in there just to make it come out easier. I'm not going to be using this one again, but be careful banging on this here. You don't want to mushroom it if you're going to reuse it. You really want to use like a punch in the hole there. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to go after is this up here, right here. So we can get this arm loose. Okay. Now this here, just so you see, I'm just using plain Jane. Can't get my air tools in there, so I'm just using a breaker bar. But what you really want to do with that is it's kind of tight, and you don't want to break it or snap it, because then of course you'll be doing a ball joint. So what I'm gonna do Just using a plain Jane torch. So just torch that up good for a little bit. Watch so you don't burn anything. And then it'll come off a lot easier with just using the breaker bar and a normal ratchet. Just heat this up for a minute or two, and it'll make it so much easier, and you won't have to risk breaking it. Technically, if you look at it closely, there's a bottom 8mm bolt on it, but I never use that. Okay, got that bolt off pretty easy there. But just keep in mind when you do that, there is a little plastic in there. You don't want to melt it too much because it's kind of like a lock washer or lock nut. But anyway, now here's the part that you might be wondering how you're going to get that out. You can't sit here banging and banging and banging on that because you'll break this. You'll break this caster. And so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to put the torch right up here. Okay. It's not going to take that long. Just going to heat this up for a minute or two. I want to put this down. Yeah, we'll just see. See, we're just kind of heating the bottom of the bolt there. We're kind of heating the bottom of this. Let's see if that's enough. I'm just gently banging it a little bit. But usually if you just kind of hit the bottom of this, bang on the side here a little bit. It's just really hard to do this holding the camera. Okay, and just heat it up again a little. Just kind of go like that a little bit. There you go. See how it popped? Just got to work with it a little. Just got to heat it up a little. Got to heat it up a little bit of oil, pound it, heat it, pound it, that's it. And there we go. Now, the reason we had to do that was we need more room down here to get the bearing and the CV shaft off. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this CV shaft out. Pretty much as we can get it out here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to those bolts back here. There's 3 of them for the bearing. So you can see I'm doing these with air tools. But there's bolt number 1. There's 3 of them. So you just got to take all 3 of those out. Okay, now we got to get that off. Just a little bit of banging. We got our 3 bolts. Usually just a little bit of banging and then a little bit of wedging. Screwdriver there, we'll get that out depending on the rust. Every Explorer is different than the last one, and the other one we took off came right off. This one I'm going to heat up a little. Just watch you don't burn that or the boot. So this one's being a little stubborn, so I put a little oil in there while I'm banging up here, and it's coming along pretty good. Watch, don't hit the threads, and of course don't hit yourself. You can see we're just about there. Just been banging on it. A little bit of oil in there. And a little bit of torch. And there we are. One bearing. That one was on there kind of hard. Okay. So there we go. Now we're going to have to get that CV shaft out. That's going to be more fun, isn't it? Alright, so you can see that's loose though. Okay, so for this, you can see I've removed the stabilizer bar, and all that is, it's 1 bolt up top, it's 15. 1 on the bottom, out of the way. Just a lot more room. I turn the wheel, kind of more like that. Now this is flopping around. Now we're going to be able to wiggle this out. So there it is, it's out, you can see. And I removed the stabilizer, like I said. I'm going to put mine in this here. And that's easy to put back on. You might want to put a little floor jack under that to raise that up into there, because the pressure of the spring there. But yeah, and I had to play with the steering wheel a little bit, pivoting that a little bit to get the angle to pull the CV shaft out. So that's basically it. And there, you can kind of see where it goes. I'm just going to plug it on back in. And I'm going to put my different bearing in. And hopefully, I think this bearing's kind of fried. So, all right. There you have it. 2003 Explorer. Hey, just a couple closing things there. Keep in mind, you may have to use a C-clamp to put the caliper back in. I've got this all reassembled now, but you may need a C-clamp for that if you've never used one. I got that back in. Okay, sway bar. Now this here, what I had to do, you see how I jacked it up? I jacked up the assembly just a little bit so I could get that in there. Then I was able to hit it with an air wrench, or in your case it could be just a ratchet. So everything's back together. Tighten that up. And I'm going to hook up the, just plug that back in. Remember the route up there. So pretty much done here, but just a couple little minor things wanted to remind you of. And there we go, it's all in place. And this too, by the way, it's not a big deal. That just snaps in. It just goes in. Just pushes in, push in hard, and there it goes. So we're pretty much just about done.